Picture this. It's a Tuesday morning. You're sitting in traffic on the way to work, coffee going cold in the cup holder, and right there in front of you pulls up a brand new truck. We're talking fully loaded, blacked out rims, LED everything. The kind of truck that looks like it was designed by someone who had never heard the word budget. And for a second, your brain does something interesting. It doesn't think, wow, good for them. It thinks, how? How is that person affording that? Because you know the numbers. You've seen the sticker prices, you've done the math, maybe late at night when you couldn't sleep, just out of curiosity. And the math doesn't work, at least not for a regular person with a regular job. But here's the thing that really gets under my skin. That person probably isn't rich. They're probably not making more than you. In fact, there's a very real chance they're making significantly less than you. And yet there they are, behind the wheel of a $60,000, $70,000, maybe $80,000 machine, driving it like it's the most normal thing in the world. So what is actually going on here? What is the system behind this? And more importantly, why does understanding it matter so much for your own financial future? My name is Miller, and I spend way too much time thinking about money and the invisible systems that quietly destroy people's financial lives. If you've ever wondered how your neighbor manages to drive a truck that costs more than your annual salary while still complaining he can't afford to fix his roof, stick around. Because today we're pulling back the curtain on the car payment trap, and what you're about to hear might make you look at that dealership on your commute very differently from now on. But before we get into the mechanics of how this actually works, let me give you a number that I want you to sit with for a second. $700. That is the average monthly car payment in the United States right now. Not for a luxury vehicle, not for a sports car. That is the average. For a regular new car, bought by a regular person, $700 a month. And when you start looking specifically at trucks and SUVs, which have quietly become the default vehicle choice for most American buyers, you are routinely looking at payments of $900, $1,000, $1,200 a month, every single month, for 6, 7, sometimes 8 years. Run that math. $1,200 a month for 7 years is over $100,000. For a vehicle, that will be worth maybe $15,000 by the time you finish paying for it. Now, you might be thinking, okay, Miller, but maybe people are just earning more now. Maybe wages have kept up with these prices, and I really wish I could tell you that was true. But it isn't. Median household income has gone up, sure, but nowhere near enough to justify these numbers using any traditional definition of financial common sense. Something else is going on. And that something else is the reason we're here today. Let's start at the beginning. Because the car payment trap didn't appear out of nowhere. It was built piece by piece over decades. And the first piece is the loan term. Not too long ago, a car loan was 3 years. Maybe 4 if you really pushed it. That was it. You bought the car, you paid it off in 3 or 4 years, and then you had a paid-off car. Simple, clean, logical. Those days are gone. Today, 6-year car loans are standard. 7-year loans are common. 8-year loans exist. And believe it or not, some lenders are now offering 10-year car loans, which honestly is one of the most financially terrifying sentences I have ever had to say out loud. Here is why this matters so much. When you stretch a loan term, the monthly payment drops. That $60,000 truck that would have cost you $1,400 a month on a 4-year loan suddenly looks a lot more manageable at $800 a month on an 8-year loan. The number looks reasonable. The number fits in a budget. The number doesn't keep you up at night. But here's what the dealership absolutely does not want you to think about while you're sitting in that chair signing the paperwork. That $800 payment over 8 years means you are paying $77,000 for a $60,000 truck. Before insurance, before gas, before the inevitable repair that is going to hit you right around year 5 when you still owe $30,000 and the transmission decides it's done. And it gets worse. Cars depreciate fast. Brutally fast. Especially in the first few years. By the time you're 3 or 4 years into that 8-year loan, there is a very real chance you owe significantly more than the car is actually worth. That is called being underwater, or more technically, negative equity. And it is a financial trap that is incredibly difficult to escape once you are in it. Now let's talk about the second piece of the system, because the loan term alone doesn't explain everything. Walk into any dealership right now and you will see signs everywhere advertising 0% APR for qualified buyers. 0%. Free money. The truck is expensive, but at least the financing is free, right? Wrong. Here's how 0% financing actually works. The manufacturer or the lender is not giving you free money. That doesn't happen. What they are doing is building the cost of that financing into the price of the vehicle itself. You are either paying full sticker price and getting 0% interest, or you are negotiating a lower price on the car and paying a normal interest rate. You are not getting both. Nobody gets both. And here's the part that stings. Those 0% offers almost always come with short loan terms. 48 months, maybe 60. Which means the monthly payment on a $60,000 vehicle at 0% over 4 years is still over $1,200 a month. The people who can actually take advantage of that deal are, almost by definition, the people who could afford to just write a check. For everyone else, the interest rate on these extended loans can be substantial. And if your credit isn't perfect, and most people's credit isn't perfect, you could be looking at 6, 7, 8% interest on top of an already enormous number. That is thousands of extra dollars leaving your bank account for no other reason than that you signed a piece of paper at the wrong time. But wait, it gets worse. There is a third piece to this system, and it is the one that really seals the trap shut. It's called the trade-in cycle, and once you understand how it works, you will never look at a car commercial the same way again. Here's how it goes. Someone buys a new truck on a 7-year loan. 3 years later, they're a little tired of it. Maybe a new model came out. Maybe their buddy just got something newer. So they go back to the dealership to trade it in for something different. But here's the problem. After 3 years, they still owe more on that loan than the truck is worth. Because of depreciation. Because of that long loan term. Because that's just how the math works. So what does the dealership do? They roll the negative equity, the amount still owed above what the truck is worth, directly into the new loan. The new, more expensive loan. For the new, more expensive truck. Now they are paying off 2 trucks with one loan, except they only own one of them. Their loan balance goes up even though they are technically making payments every single month. This is the hamster wheel. And once you are on it, getting off requires either a significant amount of cash to cover the gap or years of patience driving a car you are underwater on while you wait for the equity to flip. The dealers understand this perfectly. A customer trapped in negative equity is not just a customer. They are a guaranteed future customer. They cannot simply walk away. They have to come back. And every time they do, the cycle deepens. Now I want to talk about something that most financial discussions around cars completely miss. And that is the psychological component. Because the numbers alone do not explain why millions of intelligent, hardworking people keep making this decision over and over again. The automotive industry has spent billions, and I mean billions with a B, researching exactly how human beings think and feel about their vehicles. And what they found is something that marketing departments turned into a science. Your car is not transportation. That is not how your brain processes it. Your brain processes your car as identity, as status, as a signal to the world about who you are and what you have achieved. That commercial with the truck tearing through mud, climbing impossible terrain, looking like something out of an action movie. That is not selling you transportation. That is selling you the idea that you are the kind of person who does that, that you are capable, free, powerful, successful. Even if the closest that truck will ever get to off-road conditions is a parking lot at a kid's soccer game. And once your car becomes part of your identity, the financial calculation changes completely. You are no longer asking, is this a smart use of my money? You are asking, do I deserve this? Do I work hard enough to earn this? Am I worth it? And of course you are. You work hard. You show up every day. Why shouldn't you have something nice to show for it? That is the trap. That is the moment the industry has been engineering toward for decades. Because once the purchase becomes emotional, rational analysis basically shuts off. Let me paint you a picture of what this looks like in a real household, because I think the abstract numbers sometimes let people off the hook emotionally. Imagine a family. 2 working adults, a couple of kids, suburban house, normal life. Dad has his work truck, $900 a month. Mom has her SUV, $750 a month. Their combined monthly car payment is $1,650. Their rent or mortgage, let's say $1,500 a month. They are spending more on their vehicles than they are on the roof over their heads. And before you say, okay, but that's extreme, the average American household now owns more cars than it has licensed drivers. Multiple car payments running simultaneously is not the exception. It is increasingly the normal. Now add insurance. A $60,000 truck doesn't get insured for what a $20,000 used sedan costs. Add comprehensive coverage, collision, gap insurance, which by the way you absolutely need if you're upside down on a loan, and you are looking at insurance premiums that can easily hit $250, $300 a month per vehicle. For 2 vehicles, that's potentially $600 a month in insurance alone. Then fuel. A modern full-size truck averaging 15 miles per gallon in real-world conditions, normal commute, occasional weekend driving, you're looking at $350 to $400 a month in gas. Not a small number. Then maintenance. People drastically underestimate what it costs to maintain a modern, technologically complex vehicle. A brake job on a full-size truck is $800 to $1,200. A transmission issue can be $5,000. Major engine work can exceed $10,000. And here's the brutal reality. Most people making these enormous car payments have essentially no emergency fund left over for these repairs. So when the bill arrives, it goes on a credit card. High interest debt on top of high interest debt, supporting a vehicle that is losing value every single day. Let me give you the number that I think changes everything. The number that most people never sit down and actually calculate. Take that scenario we described. A $55,000 truck on a 7-year loan at 6% interest. Monthly payment works out to around $800. Feels manageable, right? Especially compared to the $1,200 it would have been on a 4-year term. Over the life of that loan, total payments $67,000. Insurance at $250 a month for 7 years, another $21,000. Fuel at $350 a month, another $29,000. Maintenance and repairs over 7 years, conservatively $15,000, probably more. Add it up, $132,000 for one vehicle over 7 years. And at the end of those 7 years, what do you own? A 7-year-old truck worth maybe $12,000 to $15,000. In the best case, you spent $132,000 for a vehicle worth $15,000. And here's the part that keeps me up at night. That same $800 a month invested consistently in a simple, broad market index fund averaging 8% annually turns into over $70,000 after 7 years. Not only did you not destroy $130,000, you actually built something. You created wealth instead of eliminating it. That is not a small difference. That is the difference between financial freedom and financial servitude. That is the difference between options and obligations. Now, here's the part of the conversation where I want to be very clear about something. Because I have had people hear this and immediately feel guilty or ashamed about the car they drive. And that is completely the wrong reaction. You are not failing. The system is failing you. This is not about willpower or discipline or some character flaw. The people making these decisions are not stupid. They are not irresponsible. They are human beings responding to a system that has been specifically and expertly designed to produce exactly this outcome. The dealership environment is engineered. The monthly payment focus is engineered. The trade-in cycle is engineered. The emotional identity connection to your vehicle is engineered. None of this happened accidentally. It was built on purpose, with enormous resources and intelligence behind it, specifically to get you to sign a loan document that benefits them far more than it benefits you. Understanding that doesn't make the math easier, but it does mean you can stop beating yourself up and start seeing it clearly for what it is: a system. And once you see a system, you can make choices about whether you want to stay inside it or not. So what does the other side look like? What does it actually mean to step outside this system? It doesn't mean driving a car held together with prayers and duct tape. It doesn't mean never having something you enjoy or feel proud of. It means making the decision with open eyes instead of closed ones. There are people right now driving 3 to 5-year-old vehicles they paid cash for or paid off in 2 years. Their monthly transportation cost is insurance and gas and the occasional maintenance bill. No payment, no interest, no negative equity trap, no identity crisis when they think about trading it in. And what are they doing with the difference? Some are building emergency funds for the first time in their adult lives. Some are paying off other debt. Some are investing that money monthly and watching it grow into something real. The financial flexibility that comes from not having a large car payment is genuinely life-changing in ways that are hard to describe until you've experienced it. When your car doesn't own you, your options open up in every direction. You can take a job with lower pay if it's a better fit. You can take a risk on something entrepreneurial. You can build a cushion that means a job loss doesn't become a catastrophe. You can simply breathe. Here's what I want you to take away from this today. The people you see driving brand new expensive trucks and SUVs are not necessarily winning. Many of them are financing an appearance of success with a debt structure that is quietly eating their future from the inside out. And the person driving the sensible used car, the one that people might glance at and think, oh, they couldn't afford better, that person might be building something real. Quietly, patiently, month by month. The most powerful financial move you can make is not the flashiest one. It is usually the one nobody sees. The money that stays in your account. The investment that compounds silently for years. The absence of a payment that doesn't show up anywhere on the outside, but changes everything on the inside. You are not what you drive. Your value is not determined by what sits in your driveway. The version of you that makes genuinely good financial decisions for the long term is not less successful. That version is more successful in every way that actually matters. And the next time you're in traffic behind that gleaming new truck with the chrome everything and the payment that would make your accountant cry, you don't have to feel lesser. You can just think, I know how that works, and keep driving. And if this video gave you something to think about, something you are going to remember the next time you walk into a dealership or sit behind that truck in traffic, then do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. Because this is exactly what we do here. Every couple of days, we pull back the curtain on the systems that are quietly working against your financial future so you can see them clearly and make better decisions. No fluff, no get rich quick, just honest conversations about money that most people are too afraid to have. You found this channel for a reason. Stick around. The next one might change everything.